The third game of the weekend is on Saturday at 2 p.m. here in Belfield, and it's between the Shelmaliers and Naomh Éanna. We'll go to Ed first. Ed, what are your thoughts on this game?
Well, I think this game is going to be like all 4 games this weekend. I think they're all going to be close. There won't be a puck of a ball between them all. But Gorey were not impressive again, the referees, and I give the referees a great chance last week. And some people thought I was mad, but I knew well the referees have got to the last 3 county semi-finals, and I knew they weren't going to die that easy. But maybe in hindsight you're thinking that was Gorey's first game of the championship, and maybe it'll blow out the cobwebs. They've a lot of good players, Gorey have, and they played the running game, and Conor MacDonald, I did say Kevin Foley probably will be sweeper, and I think it's but the catch there at the end was a serious catch. And
you also predicted you get a goal, Ed.
Well, I didn't think it'd be like in them circumstances, but thanks for reminding me, Peter. But I think the extra game will help Gorey now, but the Shells have quite a good team, young players like Conor Hearn and Sean Keane Carroll, and Ross Banville. I think they've a lot of good hurlers, and they could be contenders yet.
Des, what did you think of the games involving these teams so far, and how this one will go?
I think Gorey were sluggish. I seen just the highlights on that game, but Gorey are our team. I don't know what's going on there, because I don't think they've progressed since they've won the county final. You'd pick their team 1 to 15 every day. There seems to be very little changes on their team, but like we played them last year, we beat them. They struggled in the group stages last year. I thought at the start of the championship this year it was between the Martins and Gorey. I couldn't see anyone outside. Now the only other side is they got no game. I think a big thing with the teams was whoever played first has an advantage. Gorey went in cold last week. It was a bad day. I think Gorey have massive potential in that team. If I was over them, I'd be tweaking it a bit. I think every team knows where Conor MacDonald's playing, where Cottle Dunbar's playing, where everybody's playing. I think if I was over them, I'd be maybe moving Dunbar, trying out something on Sunday. It's a no-lose game for Gorey or the Shells. The Shells are well set up. They're tactically very good. They don't leave much space in the backs, but I think Gorey, if they're going, I don't see who's going to stop Conor MacDonald, to be honest, and I think he'll bag a couple of goals this week, and I think that'll win it for Gorey. But as I said with Gorey, I'd like to, I like Gorey for some reason, but I'd like to see him progressing a bit more and maybe trying out a few things, and lads in different positions maybe this weekend, because to me, if you're managing in Gorey, you know exactly where they're going. But look, maybe they'll put Donoghue back in on Conor MacDonald. I couldn't see anybody else holding him, so I go with Gorey by 3 or 4 points.
And Mossy, you're obviously involved with the Raps, and you've played against these 2 teams over the last couple of weeks. I think you were very unlucky to lose to Gorey. But I think in fairness, the Gorey performance was maybe flat. Could you maybe describe, or they were fortunate to win the game maybe?
Well, they were fortunate to win, I suppose. I'm going to say that anyway after being beaten. But they looked flat looking, and it didn't seem like the same Gorey team that won it 2 years ago, whatever like that. They do depend on Conor and Dunbar and off flat. Now we come up with a sweeper plan to try stop that, and we've done a fairly good job of it, if you ask me. But with the Shells, I just know the way the Shells were playing, they were doing an awful lot of movement in the forwards. I was just looking to go all out, and they were crisscrossing everywhere. They never really stayed in one corner, so it's something they're trying to employ and to get something out of as well. So whether Gorey will come up and look at that, I don't know, after our first game playing them, but they did look sharp that way when they were moving around. They never really panicked then either when they started to get on top of us. They kept going, and they knew what to do. So as in that way, the Shells, I fancy just a little bit to be running a little bit more around Gorey. I know Gorey was only their first game, they can be flat-footed, but I don't see the threat that Gorey have towards what the Shells have, only for bar Conor Mac at the moment. And if you can hold him off, I just think the Shells could nip this one.
And Paul, then, what are your initial thoughts on the game?
I think the biggest thing, I think the managers are going to have to get the players more up for it. I said you're in a no-lose situation, but I don't think any of them teams want to play the likes of the Martins in a quarter final. They'd rather wait down the line to play them, So I said, even though it's not a knockout, there's nothing like winning either, get a winning mentality going. Gorey were sluggish the other day, but that game will bring him on. I think, I said you can play all the practice matches in the world, but nothing will bring you on like a championship match because you're playing lots of different positions. Maybe now they might move him back to where maybe Doyle, Sean Doyle was wing back, maybe put him centre back, Malloy be more of a threat then going forward if he was midfield, and if McGuckin was able to go to the forwards, that would strengthen them up going forward. But are you weakening the backs as well? I think you are relying on McDonald, but I think probably need more out of Cathal Dunbar as well. You know, he was superb in the county final there a couple of years ago. He needs to reproduce that, you know, get whether it's confidence or something. The other day he was marked tight now, and I thought the referees had a great game plan for it. But that's if Conor McDonald's going to be tag teamed, Gorey may figure out a plan to get space for the rest of the lads, you know, because likes of Cathal Dunbar's pace, you know, it should be able to cause a massive threat in regards to Shells. I think to have very good forwards, you named the 3 young lads there, and you've Joe Kelly. The only thing I see about them fellas, I think they're very similar hurlers. You know, they're all stylish hurlers. They're very similar, but I don't know if all them lads can work together. Now, they will. I said, they're serious. Sean King Carroll is going to have a good hand in everything. Banville Freeze, they're all stars of the future as well. You know, but I still think Gorey might nick this one. I think with the negativity after the performance the other day, there has to be a kick from him, you know, and I think they'll take it.
And Benny, he obviously came up with a very good game plan last year to defeat Gorey. What way do you see this game going then?
Yeah, look, it's a dead rubber match, so they're really going to have to entice themselves to get up for it. I think it'll be a tit for tat, score for score. Gorey are very good at shooting long range. Jack Cush there the weekend gone got some superb scores from range. Joe Kelly will pick him off, Ross Banville will pick him off on the other side. And I think Dunbar needs a big game. And Mac, I think we could see a few goals from Mac this weekend. But yeah, look at the Dials as well for Gorey. If they get the run on you, they'll open you up. So likes of the Cashes, and he'll have his hands full in the backs there. And look at, I think Gorey will shade it.
And just in terms of then, the winner of this game will top the group, and the loser will obviously be more likely to play St. Martin's. Would that be the way you'd be thinking, that you try and win and avoid St. Martin's in a quarter final, or would you think there'd be a better chance of beating them in a quarter final?
Well, I think you shouldn't be thinking about who you're going to get in the quarter final, because you're going to have to either beat him in the quarter or semi to get to a final. So I don't think they shouldn't be worrying about who they get. Like, just focus on a good performance, and maybe having the likes of the Martins worrying about them now because they've put in such a good performance. But no, look at any of them two teams can rattle any team in the county, and yeah, look at a lot of lads like to steer away from the Martins and maybe hope someone else knocks him out. But look at, I wouldn't be worrying about anyone in the quarter final now, and just worry about this one they have in front of them and then take it from there.
Paul, would you agree with that? If you were the manager of a team, would you be sort of approaching this game with a quarter final in mind, or would you just be approaching it to try and win it?
I think it's more important for Gorey to win because everyone hasn't classed them or the Martins. So I think if they got bet, it's not good. Where the Shells going into a quarter final, I think they struggle to get over quarter finals the last few years as well. But I always find when we were going well and winning things, the quarter final was the hardest step to get by. We should have been bet nearly every year in a quarter final. Even Glenbarnholm did beat us in the quarter final the year before. The Harriers had us bet, and it's the thing, you think you're going well, and then you're playing a team that has nothing to lose. They're after being bet, so just the shackles off and go out. So a quarter final for a favourite, a quarter final is a very dangerous spot, I think.
Would you agree with that, Mossy?
Yeah, I would. No, look at it. You should always be going into every game with a win on your belt, you know. So I don't think they should go out and just just because they're safe and whoever comes first or whoever comes second or whatever that. But definitely they should be looking like Paul said of Gorey. They were coming in the second favourites there. They'll be looking for a big performance for themselves to go on. If they did beat the Shells, and you never know what could happen after that. Whereas the Shells, are just a team that, once they kind of get through that quarter final, they do find it a bit tougher, alright. But definitely be looking at the performance going in. They'll be looking at their top players and making sure they're all going well into a quarter final. So wherever they draw, then that they're pushing on and everyone's going well for them. So definitely be looking at trying to push for the win.
And there's, in terms of the Shelmaliers, they seem to be a team that is able to cruise into the knockout stages every year. We never discussed them ever being involved in a relegation battle or anything like that, but at the same time they find it difficult to kick on past the quarter final.
Yeah, the thing with the Shells is I've always had the opinion of Shells, they have no bad players, but they've no real star quality forward that's what would be holding them back. I think 1 to 15 they're probably the strongest, but they don't have a Conor McDonald, they don't have Cottle Lombard, they don't have a Rory O'Connor. If you put Rory O'Connor now in that Shells forward line, I think to be fairly much, they'd be competing every year. Not saying they have good players in the forwards, but to me they're short of being top quality. I think that's what's holding back the Shells. But they beat us last year. They're well organised. It's not saying they can't win the county final, because to me they played Sean Keane Carroll out the middle of the field the last that he should be probably in the forwards. It's the forwards that's going to let them down from winning something. Their backs are strong enough. They Brian Malone back in the backs the weekend again. So that's what I think's held back the Shells a bit now. It's just a star quality forward.
Would you agree with that? The Shells seem to be a team that could beat anyone on any given day, but then they could also lose tamely as well.
Yeah, well, I think the thing that let them down the last 2 years, they got beaten by Oildgate, wasn't it, in the quarter final 2 years ago, and the Anns last year. They don't appear to have a goal threat, but they put that right again. The Raps, they scored 2 goals. I think Joe Kelly is a goal threat, and I think they need him on their team. What Des is saying is right. They've probably 30 players at the same level, but they've no outstanding player. And any team that ever wins anything, they always have that player with the X factor. And you can go through any team they ever won, like the Rory O'Connors and the Conor McDonalds, the loads, Paul Codds, all them lads. So that's what they're missing. But I'd be very confident that the 3 young lads that I've named from the Shells will in time turn out to be very, very good players.
So what's your prediction for the match then?
Well, first of all, I don't think it's going to be a dead rubber. I think Gorey will win it by 3 points, and I think Conor McDonald will bag a goal again.
Des?
I think Gorey will win by 3 or 4 points, but as I said, I'd like to see him maybe moving Cottle Lombard to middle of the field. He's played there on the edge. I think if he gets ball out there, he's probably stagnant a little bit on the corner, and that's for Willie, I'd be moving him out the field. 3 points for Gorey.
And what's it?
Just honest, I've been involved in the 2 games. I just think the Shells will probably they've shown a little bit more in the games that I've been involved in, so I'll stick my neck on the block with Shells, probably a 4-point win.
Paul?
Gorey slightly by 2 points.
Benny?
Gorey by 3.
And I think the Shells are maybe just in slightly better form than Gorey at the moment, so I'm going to go with them by 2 points.